song. Well, it seems like I've been away for a while. 1 week. 1 week, I miss you. But I will tell you that the leaves and the foliage is starting to change in the mountains, and it is absolutely beautiful. We know some people aren't mountain people. That's okay. This front row's full. And my back is full. I just look at the person beside you and say, it truly is good to see you. Good to see Richard. Richard showed up yesterday, and he was I think he was just wanting to taste some barbecue. I don't know what else he would show up for, but appreciate you. Well, we're going to jump, we're somewhere around the hidden secret 13. I think that we're going to this secret 13 because I'd like to be finished with this series by Thanksgiving. So I think we're just going to do maybe one Sunday on this one, but we'll see where it goes. I hope that, as we talked about, I'll just set these up here. You are building a defense mechanism. You are building a wall around your life. And things just don't happen. It just doesn't happen. So number 13 is a key thing, and because we're all going to deal with this, and that is, how do you handle adversity and failure? How do you handle it? I mean, you see some people that do not handle adversity and failure. I can't describe what adversity and failure is. It varies. A divorce could be failure for you. Illness can be failure for you. A loss of a job can be failure for you. I got to move a few things around. Can be failure for you. So how you handle that is very important. And I don't want us to judge how people handle it, because, everyone's different. But I do hope to be able to help you to navigate and understand, because the storms in life are going to come. There's some things that are just out of your control. There's some things that are out of your ability, but there are ways you can handle that. So we're going to jump right into the scripture here that we have for 13, which is Joshua 1, 2 through 10. Prepare to cross this Jordan River. Again, as I read this, things keep growing in this. It says, prepare to cross the Jordan River. And you've heard me say this. When he's talking about the Jordan River at this time, this is a flood stage. You saw in Brunswick County an unexpected, unnamed storm dropped an exceptional amount of water that washed out roads, that washed out thoroughfares, that people were stuck and people had to reroute. And this happened in one day. Many times things happen in one day in your life. So if you know the history of this, and I've shared, it says, prepare to cross this Jordan River, which was the Jordan River was flooding its banks at this time. It did this every year. So this is adversity here. And right here, he is talking about you need, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I'm going to tell you, the reason most people have such struggle with adversity and failure is they never prepared for it. They never prepared for it. And say, well, how do you prepare? Well, we have to go further. And all the people cross the country I'm giving the sons of God. I'm giving you every square inch of the land you set your foot on, just as I promised. It's all yours. all your life, no one will be able to hold out against you. In the same way I was with Jesus, I will be with you. I won't give up on you. I won't leave you. Strength and courage. You're going to lead these people to inherit the land that I promised to give their ancestors. Here's enthusiasm. Give it everything you have, heart and soul. I can rabbit trail so easy. Did you get up this morning deciding to give God everything today? Do you live your life every day giving it everything you got? I'm telling you, it'll change your life when you get up and you just grab the bull by the horns called life and you decide, I am going to give today everything you got. Your whole life will change just with that one concept. Make sure you carry out the revelation God commanded you, every bit of it. Don't get off track, either left or right, so as to make sure you get to where you're going and possess overwhelming success in everything you undertake. Oh my goodness. I want to tell you, you can learn to be successful in everything you undertake. Everything you undertake. It says make sure you get to where you're going. So if you hadn't arrived yet, you need to make sure you're going somewhere. And don't for a minute let the book of Revelation be out of your mind. Ponder and meditate on it day and night, making sure you practice everything written in it. Oh, let me pause again. I want to give you a little secret. I've been holding this off for a long time. Casey whispers to me all the time. Tell him. This is for Elijah and Roman. This is for everybody in this room. If you will take something that you like and you will do it 18 minutes a day. Listen to what I'm telling you. 18 minutes. 18 minutes a day. Let's make it 20. For 1 year, you have 100 hours. In 1 year, you move from 95% of where people are into 5%. Did you hear what I said? 18 minutes a day for 1 year will move you out of the majority into a 5% class. For you who like cornhole, the reason you're no good at it, because you don't ever play it. And you don't even know how to hold it. You throw it any way you want to throw it. You do it 18 minutes a day, you'll quit throwing it like you don't know what you're doing. 18 minutes. 18 minutes. Oh, let me talk to the ladies for a moment. All you got to do is 18 minutes a day learn how to cook, and in a year, you would be in the 5% of know how to cook. But if you don't do it 18 minutes a day, that's why you can't cook. It's not that nobody taught you, it's that you don't put anything into it. By the time you leave here, not today, but in a little while, whenever, you will have no excuses in your life. I don't excuses. 18 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. So if there's something you want to good at, I was telling Casey, I said, if you take Rania, you're what, 10? If you take Rania and say, okay, what do you like to do, Rania? Shane, what do you like to do? Find something they like. And we go do this 18 minutes a day for 1 year. You put that child in a 5% category, and then the next year you take something else. In 10 years, you have put them into a 5% category in 10 areas. I'm telling you how to be successful. We go do 18 minutes a day. Oh, man, that's a freebie. Ponder and meditate on it day and make sure you practice everything written in it. 18 minutes a day, practice it. Then you'll get to where you're going. My goal is to live in the 5%. You live wherever you want to live. My goal is to live in the 5%, to have the 5% income, to have 5% everything. It just takes you being willing to do that. Then get to where you're going, then you'll enjoy incredible prosperity and success. Let me just help you out again. All the people, you hear it all the time. You hear it all the time about Christians and churches and preachers. All they talk about is money. That is so amazing. You have an alarm clock to get up every morning to go make it. And you'll work your whole life trying to make it. But a preacher talks about it. All they talk about is money. You set your alarm clock, you get up early, you drive in, you check in early. Your whole life revolves around making money. But then in church, people say, all they want is your money. You live your whole life to make money. You want to retire, you want to have a house, you don't want to have... I mean, it's oxymoron thinking when you think about what people say. Haven't I commanded you strength and courage? Don't be timid, don't get discouraged. Abba, your papa. Isn't that something? Don't get discouraged. You go get discouraged. I'm going to help you today navigate discouragement. Jesus said, what do you mean if? If you're able to believe, there's nothing that's not impossible for you. If you can believe this, there's nothing that's impossible. I was telling Josh this morning that success is like a numbers game. It's got a lot of probability into it. The more you try it, the more the odds come in your favor. Most people don't try anything because they want to avoid failure. But failure always precedes success. If you want to speed up your success, double your failure. You cannot get to success without failures, you got to figure out what doesn't work, what you did wrong. You've got to learn from that, and people are so paralyzed by failure and how it looks that they never make decisions to that. And once you get the right attitude of how failure is for your benefit, then you can start using failure in a positive way. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. It's not what happens to you. You cannot control what happens to you. You cannot control a divorce. You cannot control necessarily sometimes a bankruptcy. You cannot control a death. You cannot control the flooding. You cannot control things. Many things are out of your control. But how you respond to things is up to you. It's about how you respond to things. See, failure is a universal human experience. Everyone in this room has had some level of failure. I mean, we all would have stories about our failures in this room. And we will intentionally try to avoid failures when what you're trying to avoid is what you need to become successful. You got to have it to succeed. Because what failures do is it reveals your character and builds your character of how you respond. It is essential that adversity is. Let's do. Put up the quote. I think it's Malcolm X, that quote. Great quote. You may not like Malcolm X, but the quote's good. Let me know when it's up there. Someone read that. I don't think that's Malcolm X. That one was good too. Someone read that, Benita. That is excellent. So you've had a divorce. You should have learned from it. You've raised one child. You should have learned from it. It's about learning from where you are and what you're experiencing. And really, honestly, people go through stuff and they never learn from them. They don't ask the right questions. So when you look at failure, usually where failure and adversity gets us, we get blindsided. It comes in such, we didn't expect it. Benita did not expect Robert to pass with COVID. John Mitchell didn't expect Diane to pass. Cindy did not expect Larry to pass. But everyone dies. And most people never think about if something happens, how would I handle this? You have to think ahead. You may not know how you're going to do everything, but living where you don't think someone's going to die, you have failed to think. That's not negative. I have thought about if my wife passes. And I can tell you one thing will happen if my wife passes. You will not see me for a while because I'm headed to the mountains and I'm going to sit in the mountains for 5 days or a week with God and work this thing out in me before I come and talk to anybody. That's how I have to deal with it. I don't expect that, but I'm not going to be caught off guard in the sense of overwhelmed and my life is collapsing and falling apart. My life, your life, should not collapse and fall apart. I'm sorry. Your life cannot collapse and fall apart. If it does, that's indicators of weak things that occurred that you never dealt with or never pondered. And that's not blame. But I'm promising you, whatever adversity you've had in the last year, expect more. You can't get away from adversity. You can't get away from some type of failures. See, adversity will overwhelm you. It will trigger things in you. And what happens when we get overwhelmed, we lose sight of our purpose for living. And we lose sight of God's promises to me. Did y'all hear that? When adversity and failure and defeat comes, I lose sight of my why am I here. I lose sight of my purpose for being on earth. And when I lose sight of why I'm here, I also have lost sight of what God promised. When we just read, I will never leave you. I will never abandon you. Strength and courage. You're going to need this because disappointment and adversity and discouragement is going to come. I have got to draw on something. We grow to mature and we learn to prepare. That's kind of a reverse. Why am I growing? Because I want to mature. Why am I learning? Because I want to prepare. Growth is about maturing, and learning is about preparation for when things occur. So let's redefine failure today just a little bit. Let's redefine failure from this loser mentality, this bottomless pit type mentality, this fatalism mentality where your shame, guilt, and condemnation comes upon you, and this discouragement. So when you look at failure, it has been misused, and it creates anxiety and stress and worry and unnecessarily hardships for so many people. So let's look at, instead of looking at failure and adversity from one point, let's look at it as failure versus temporary setbacks. There's a difference between failure and a temporary setback. Big difference in those two. We talked about, I didn't have it today, but with all of our little things, we talked about steel and metal. Carbon, in the use of steel, and you see it with chisels and a lot of things, a lot of times things have to be tempered. Glass has to be tempered. Steel has to be carbonized, so if not, it will shatter. I mean, you take a piece of steel that's not been tempered by high heat, that just strength that, and you hit it with a hammer. That's why cast iron will it will shatter like a puzzle. But if something has been tempered in heat in a furnace in steel, you can hammer it and it will not shatter. See, life, you need to be tempered in life. It says that Jesus said it's important that I go, so when I go, Holy Spirit will come and live in you. It is to your advantage. Holy Spirit is your tempering that keeps you together when you know what He's there for. Most people don't like friction. But if you're going to grow, you're going to have friction. A leader grows because of the friction with people. A leader grows with the tension that comes with working with people and making decisions under pressure. Here's a good quote for you. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. You cannot stop the waves pounding upon you, but you can learn to surf. You grow in your leadership as you resist your comfort zones. If you are a leader and you are not experiencing growth, it is because of comfort zones. We have these comfort zones, and they're comfortable. When you get outside of your comfort zone, you really get. I remember being in Belize. You may not experience this in America. The blacks may, but white people don't experience this. When we were in Belize, and you find yourself one person in the middle of 1,000 blacks, you feel different. You do. And then when you're in a room and there's 25 whites, five blacks, and all, there's no big deal. But when you look around and there's a sea of blackness, you realize I'm not in my comfort zone. And I'm not saying that. It's a different feeling. You can stand on the beach and look at the ocean and say, how beautiful. It's different when you're out there and you see no land. I think I'm going to just keep this life jacket real close. Stick this little floaty. I put a floaty, these little arm floaties, I'm fine with those, just sticking them in my pocket right here. See, when you cannot grow in comfort. You cannot grow in comfort. You can only grow in discomfort. And we want to avoid all discomfort in life. It is a natural tendency. You got to stretch and strain and push and keep moving so that you can grow. You cannot develop stronger character in the absence of adversity. If you want your children to be children and to grow up with character, they must experience adversity. They must experience failure and defeat. But I want to give you 3 things that just here that comes out of that you need. And this is how you know we're lacking it in society, because these words aren't even used much anymore. But 3 things needed to overcome. Say, I'm going to overcome. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. I probably do more to tear down religion than I do anything. Religion just sucks to me. I don't mean that in a crass word. It's just religion, the cliches, all the things that are said, they don't work. They sound cool as heck, but they don't work. And you are living proof it doesn't work. Just have faith. Just read your Bible. Just that. So here's a word that's needed in order for you to develop character. And this is not just Christian stuff. This is anybody. The first thing you need to develop in character building and overcoming adversity and overcoming defeat is you got to develop resilience. What is someone? Don't look it up on the phone. What is resilience? Let me give you the definition of resilience. Okay, listen what it is. The ability to return or recover to your original position. It is not just pressing through. It is when you get hit with something that you're able to reel and wobble, but you come back to an upright position. Listen, when you've been bent, compressed, stretched, and disrupted, can you come back to your original position? When you've been betrayed, rejected, shamed, and lied about, can you come back to your original position and attitude in life? Can you come back to your positive mental attitude and composure? When someone dies, does it change you and you're not the person you used to be? When you get bankrupt and you lose everything because the stock market crashes, are you now a hermit and hiding from shame? Or do you bounce back and say, I will go again? Resilience is a missing component in so many people's lives. Yeah, they get through, but they don't get through it the same. They've changed. Their attitudes changed. Their demeanors changed. They're not as joyful. They're not as laughter. They're not as fun. They're more just serious. The wind's been taken out of their sail. I'm talking about resilience, that whatever you encounter, you come back to your original composure. Hello? It's called elasticity. Oh, here's the word. It's called buoyancy. Do you know a boat is built, good boats, not aluminum boat, but they do have stuff under the seat. But good boats, yachts, they are built to go under the water and pop up. Look at somebody and say, I'm always going to pop up. You got to have the attitude, I'm always going to pop up. You ever tried to hold a ball under the water? I mean, it's a struggle. It should be a struggle to hold you down. It should be a struggle. And, a lot of times you never get it fully. Go out there with a 55-gallon plastic drum and try to put it under the water. It will whoop you. It's a barrel of whoop. We'll leave it right there. You are struggling. You'll sit on it and you can't get it under. I'm trying to help you get to a place that nobody can put you under. The situation can't put you under. Life can't put you under. Death can't put you under. Friends can't put you under. Politics can't put you under. I'm always going to bounce back. Second word, perseverance. You got to build resilience, but you got to have perseverance. Definition of perseverance. Just off the top of your head, what do you think it is? Keep going. Withstanding discouragement and difficulty, continued steady in grace to the end. Yeah. Stick-to-itiveness. No, that's just perseverance. You got to stick it out. This is how you know when you have a definite chief aim, when you have a definite purpose, when you have a goal. You stick it out. When people tell you that's not going to work, but you believe in it. When people tell you you're never going to, you stick to it. You stay the course. It's your dream. It's your goal. People may not, there's things people say, and I'm like, I don't know how that's ever going to happen, but that's my opinion. But I don't say it out loud, but you better believe it, because you're going to have things to come against you. And the last one is on this one, how to develop this strong character in the absence of adversity, is resoluteness. Firm in purpose and belief. It means backbone. It means iron will. I'm just, and this is not meant to be political, so don't take it that way. But in 2024, I personally do not know of an individual human being that has resilience, perseverance, and resoluteness than Donald Trump. I'm telling you, you don't have to like him. You don't have to vote for him. But I'm going to tell you what. I want to see you get your ears shot off and you stand up and go, fight, fight, fight. And you be like, run, run, run. I mean, who even thinks that way? The resilience of this man. I'm telling you, you can learn something from him whether you vote for him or not. But you've got to learn that nothing can hold you down. It doesn't matter what they say, what they do, we're going to win. And you should just go back and look at the montages of, well, he's done, he's over, he'll never make it. And he don't go away. He doesn't go away. You've got to get to the place where nobody can put you away. And adversity builds this in you if you ask the right questions and learn that I'm not saying you won't cry. I'm not saying you won't have all kinds of feelings and emotions. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying you have got to learn to have resilience, to bounce back, resoluteness, and you got to be able to have perseverance. These are three things that cannot be developed in your life without adversity. Isaiah 43, 1 through 3. The God who made you in the first place. Did you see that strike line in that? I did that because you're not Jacob. You're Richard. You're Matt. You're Roman. Now read it that way. Instead of that name, that's on your paper. It says, the God who made you in the first place, Timothy. The one who got you started, Timothy. Don't be afraid. I've redeemed you. I've called you by name. You're mine. When you're in over your head, come on. Sometimes I get in over my head. I'll be there with you. When you're in rough waters, you will not go down. You will not go under. There's buoyancy in me. I won't go under. I know you're praying for me, and you're wondering if I'm going to make it, but I'm here to tell you I'm going to make it. When you're in rough waters, you will not go down. When you're between a rock and a hard place, come on. When you're in a tight spot, it won't be a dead end because I'm your God, your personal God. Is that not? I am always going to bounce back. I am always going to pop up. I am Tim in a box. You just, bang! He's like, bang! I'm always going to be right there. You go grind it out. I'm going to grind it out because I'm going to pop right there. You know what? I'm just saying, what you have got to develop the mindset and the belief system that you speak it. You speak what you believe. The reason we don't speak it, well, I just don't know how I'm going to handle it. You have to think about, we'll get in there. Let's talk a minute about disappointments. Most people, the reason disappointments and all these things so hurt people in their journey is because they never mentally rehearse how they would act. Well, I don't know how I would act, but you have to, how would you act? When the inevitable disappointments come, setbacks, reverses, everything you didn't anticipate, how do you think you're going to handle them? If something could go wrong, have you ever sat down to do, now listen, this is good stuff here. When you are planning something to go on vacation or you plan to go on a trip, have you ever sat down and made a list? What could go wrong? Well, that's no, it's not negative. When you have 2 blowouts instead of 1, who do you call when you're in the mountains going up 5,000 feet mountain at night with no shoulder on the side of the road and no cell service? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I've never thought about it. Well, maybe you should think about it. What is your course of action? You have to think. I guess you've never heard of crisis anticipation. You can get a degree in crisis anticipation and make money because you go in for people and figure out what all the things can go wrong in a situation. See, some of you should have done that in your marriage. Crisis anticipation. Some of you should have done that when you had kids. See, you didn't anticipate what could go wrong, and when it went wrong, you didn't know how to fix it. Hello? That was the quietest moment in the room. Crisis anticipation is what if? 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 Napoleon, well, let's read this one. 2 Corinthians 11:23 through 33 Message. Will you throw that up there, please, sir? This is Paul writing. Since you admire the egomaniacs of the pulpit so much, remember this in your old friend in Fool Talking. Let me try my hand at it. Do they brag of being Hebrews, Israelites, and pure race in the match? Are they servants of Christ? I can go them one better. I can't believe I'm saying these things. It's easy to talk this way, but I started and I'm going to finish. I've worked much harder, been jailed more often, beaten up more times than I can count, and at death's door time after time. I've been flogged 5 times. You know how many? You know what a flogging is? It's 39 stripes. I've been flogged 5 times with the Jews, 39 lashes, beaten by Roman rods 3 times, pummeled with rocks once. I've been shipwrecked 3 times. I'd stay off the water. I wouldn't want to be on a boat with you. Personally, I take the next one. Let him take the boat by himself. And immersed in the open seas for night and a day, in hard traveling year in and year out. I've had to ford rivers fend off robbers, struggle with friends, struggle with foes. I've been at risk in the city, at risk in the country, endangered by desert sun and sea storm, betrayed by those I thought were my brothers. I've known drudgery and hard labor, many a long and lonely night without sleep, many a missed meal, blasted by the cold and naked to the weather. And that's not half of it. Dang, now that boy is bad. I hadn't even got half the story done. And what are you whining about exactly? What exactly are you... Go read 2 Corinthians and then come talk to me. Your feelings are hurt. You got a bad tweet. You got a thumbs down. Please, I have no time. That's half of it. When you throw in the daily pressures, come on, am I helping anybody? And the daily anxieties of all the churches when someone gets to the end of their rope and they hit rock bottom, I feel the desperation in my bones when someone is duped into sin and angry fire burns in my gut. If I have to brag about myself, I'll brag about the humiliations that make me. Right there. That's good. See, all these failures make you. You've got to learn. And you know what? In this room, there's things, if you were to write out things about your past, nobody knows. Why? Because they're humiliations to you instead of building blocks. You see them wrong. You see them incorrect. You see them personally. You've never turned them into fuel. You've turned them into bricks to hide behind. You don't have self-confidence and you don't have authority because you're more afraid of how people will judge you. You care more about people's opinions of you than your growth. See, your growth carries you to maturity and you learn how to prepare. Napoleon, y'all know Napoleon, he was considered by most historians to be one of the greatest battle commanders that existed. Listen to this. You ought to read about Napoleon, great guy in the sense of his battle stance. He had at least 60 wins, 60 battles with only 7 losses. 60 wins and only 7 losses. About a 90% chance he was going to win. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is what was amazing. For the French army, when Napoleon rode up onto the battlefield, his presence was equated to 40,000 troops. Go read your history. Where's Napoleon? Come on, where's Napoleon? When he rolled up, little short guy, I don't know, he might have been 4'11", 5 foot. He rode up, his presence was equated to 40,000 soldiers. Now I want to ask you, when Jesus rolls up, if Napoleon can produce 40,000, when you learn to operate off the Holy Spirit, what advantage do you have? He was equivalent to 40,000 soldiers. When Jesus, you have 40,000 angels. It said that they opened their eyes and saw and said they were so numerous you couldn't count them. You see, we don't know who we are, what's around us. We have not spent enough time developing our character and who we are, and we are whiny, cry, cowardly people. Not you in personal, but I'm just saying, Christians are just Christians, religious folks scare me. I don't like being around religious folks. I don't. If you think I like being around religious folks, you're wrong. I do not like. I don't like the way they talk. I don't turn. I'm just like, please, let me go hang out. I see why Jesus hung out with beer drinking, smoking pot. But he's like, Jesus, see, they didn't smoke pot, but Jesus, they got upset with Jesus because he always hung around the sinners. Jesus, I'm more comfortable with these people than these people. He did. Go read. Jesus was in trouble because he was hanging around the prostitutes, and the prostitutes was washing his feet with their hair. Now, you ride by and see me sitting on the back of my truck and the prostitute washing my feet with my hair. Oh, my God. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I mean, Jesus hung out with the sinners, and all the religious folk got mad because Jesus couldn't. Jesus was like, I can't take it. I'm not talking about people that have a faith in God, but faith in God is not a denomination. Faith in God is not attending church. Faith in God is not. It's you can have faith in God and please stop wearing Christian t-shirts. Please just stop wearing Christian t-shirts. I'm so sick of Christian t-shirts. I don't mean that. It's one thing that if you make them, I don't mean that. Some of them are just corny. I'm talking about the corny stuff. I just want one that says, I just want mine that says, don't get too close, I'll punch you in your face. That's what Or get right here, stay the hell away from me. Don't talk to me. I don't know. Your t-shirt doesn't match your character. Anybody ever heard of Milo C. Jones? Man, I don't know. Something's happening. It's 11:39. Oh, my gosh. It's so early. Milo C. Jones. Come on. I know somebody. I know Casey and Amanda Milo C. Jones. How about Jones? Think of dairy. Think of dairy, Jones. Jones's sausage. Jones's sausage. 1800s. Milo C. Jones was a town in Wisconsin, Atkinson, Wisconsin to be exactly, not Atkinson, North Carolina. They were a big farm-producing family, and in the 1800s, he got struck with rheumatoid arthritis, possible stroke, they said, and he was paralyzed to a bed. And he was laying in the bed. The only thing worked was his mind. I mean, he was just in such riveting pain. And he sat there and he said, what am I going to do? And they had just thousands of acres of farmland and all that. And he began to think what to do, and he called all his family around him, and he said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to plant corn in all the fields, most all the fields, and then I want you to raise pigs, and then when the corn is right, feed the pigs. And he gave them, and the family did what he said while he was on the bed, and that's how Jones's sausage came into being. It's revolutionized the dairy industry and the farm industry for the last 130 years. And he did it all laying in bed. He didn't allow his rheumatoid arthritis and his bedridden condition to stop him from having a dream and a purpose. What will stop you from having your dream and purpose? What will stop you? I need to pause here for a minute and say, don't look over this until you go home and write it down, because I promise you, for most people in here, there's a list of things that will stop you. There's a list of things that will stop you. Limiting beliefs will so come into your life. And see, how you move up in leadership and how you move up in business and how you move up, how you handle adversity determines your level of promotion. And please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. And I'm not saying this in a derogatory, even though it will come across misogynist, but I'm probably that too. Everything you say, I probably fit xenophobe, all that. I need a shirt that says I'm all that. But just let me say that at this point, I have not seen a female I want to be president of the United States. Don't take that wrong. I don't need someone PMSing and cranky as hell. I don't need someone whining and crying. I don't need someone that doesn't have enough estrogen going on in their system. I don't need someone having hot flashes. And I don't want someone who has never experienced life. Let me back up. I heard this the other day that was so good, and they were talking about equality. It's not a rabbit trail, but it's a good little side note. We'll call it a side note. I love this about the equality between men and women. First, let me just tell you, there is no equality or equity. I believe in that we should be treated fair, we should be treated this. But equality, when there's a war, women don't fight the war, the men do. When there is a hurricane, the men's not out there cutting trees, the women are, the men are. When there's mechanics, the women. There's a few. We're not talking about a few exceptions. But when your grass is getting cut and the mowing, it's men doing that. It's men on the war line. It's men. Men does everything, and you want equality? Hell no. You don't get equality until you can do what I do the way I do it. You don't get equality that way. There is no law passing equality. I believe in treating everybody with respect. I believe if you can do the work, get paid. I don't believe in all that. But I'm talking about when it is time to go outside and see what that noise was, you get up and go see what the noise is. Let me lay in bed. You walk around there with the flashlight. No, it's the man that's got to get up and go outside and see what's going on. It's the man that has to go and feed the chickens and the dog. It's the man that has to mow the grass. It's the man that has to carry the car to get inspected. It's the man that has to get out the car and change the tire while you sit in there and flip through the phone. No! I'm sick and tired of equality. You want equality. How do we navigate storms, shipwrecks, and snake bites? That's what it is. Have you ever thought about if you got a snake bite, what you go do? I know what most people would do. You grab your phone trying to figure out what Google says. No. What do you do? How many of you would put a tourniquet on your around the extremity of the snake bite? You're not supposed to put a tourniquet on there. You're supposed to get as quick as you can, just get to where you're going. A tourniquet now has been proven doesn't do anything. But I was all taught, I'm going to take my belt and wrap it around 4 times. My little leg will be about this big. But now, look at CPR. It's all changed where you did all this stuff. That's not the way they do CPR anymore. But you don't put a tourniquet. It's just as best as you can, stay calm and get to where you need to go. Don't lay there with a tourniquet on your leg. Hey, no, get to where you're going. So that's what happens. Adversity puts a tourniquet on you. It's trying to choke you out. So Abba has given you numerous tools to navigate the storms and the shipwrecks and the snake bites. Prayers will stop the enemy. Praise will confuse the enemy. Peace will paralyze the enemy. Integrity will disarm the enemy. And resistance will make him flee. You got enough just in God to be able to overcome everything the enemy brings towards you. Winners are not people who never fail, but people who never quit. I don't know who I was talking to the other day, but I told him, and I was telling him, it might have been Landy. This is not a personal thing. I used to struggle with this years ago, and now I understand it more. A lot of things you don't understand until you grow. You're going to outgrow people. You go outgrow them. When people are not going to grow, you will naturally outgrow them. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you already lost. Life battles don't always go to the stronger or to the faster man, but the man who is certain he can. So I just want to encourage you. I'm going to leave you one last thing here, and then it's 11:47. I'm telling you, God's on my side. God's on my side. Y'all going to be like, there's a miracle took place today. Helpful techniques to build an oversight. Let's run through this. Y'all got that? These are helpful techniques. Because I did techniques because I don't want to give you like this is it or nothing else. One, how do you build an overcoming spirit? How do you handle adversity and setbacks and storms in your life and shipwrecks in your life and snake bites? How do you handle? You're going to have them. Quit thinking you don't have them. You've got to start looking at failures and issues the way I have begun to look at them. I'm in the best place I can be at this moment. I don't have to like it. Just shake it off. That's all he did. Just shake the snake off. You're not going to die. You know you're not going to die from a snake bite. Number one, be prepared. That's the big thing. Wasn't that the first part of the scripture we read? Prepare. Be prepared. Haley and Matt, if you decide to get married, be prepared. You're going to have some good arguments. Good arguments. But you sit down and talk to me before you get married, you will either split apart and not get married, or you'll. I hear amens. You'll get, because I'm gonna ask you questions you never thought of because you just in love. I'm gonna remove all that love mess and ask you some questions, and you could be like, dang, I don't think I want to get married. Be prepared. Working on overcoming adversity happens before the tough situation happens. You got to be prepared. I was telling Casey this. Casey should be teaching something soon. When you get ready when you ask yourself, I'm talking about a life question. When you ask yourself a question, how many times do you ask yourself a question? If you have a serious question like about something, and it's a question you ask, how many times do you ask that question to yourself? How many times do you think you ask it? When you're trying to find out an answer to a question that's going to be pivotal in your life, you should ask yourself minimal 50 times. Because you can have different. You could have just drank your energy drink. You could have just took the mail in. You've taken the mail in. You could have done all these things. You have got to constantly ask yourself at least 50 times. I had a friend. I've always wanted to open a restaurant. I'm as close now as I probably ever get to a restaurant. But I asked him. He worked for. He was a chef in Omni Hotels. If you know anything about hotels and restaurants, they're not around here. They're in big cities. I said, man, I want to open a restaurant. And this is what he told me. He said, how many phone calls you made? None. He said, well, you're an idiot. That's what he told me. He said, before you open a restaurant, he said, whether you do it or you hire a company to do it, he said, you should have a minimum of 50,000 phone calls in to see if your food's even relevant to the area. 50,000 phone calls. Just because if I want to open a restaurant, everybody knows, yeah, open a restaurant, I come. Yeah. How many times you go come? Be prepared. Number 2, practice positivity. Positivity. Take a step back and reframe the problem in a positive way. You have to learn never to talk the problem. People that are high achievers and people that are movers and shakers, they never talk the problem. They always talk the solution immediately. Talking about, what went wrong, don't spend any time. Well, how are we going to solve it? There's a hole in the boat. Don't keep talking about, you shot the hole in the boat. You did. Plug the hole. Let's solve this thing real quick here. Number 3, stay disciplined. Stop yourself from spiraling out of control. You got to have disciplines in place. Number 4, stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize. Remember why you want what you want. How about number 5? Find the lesson. When you are in something, you must find the lesson in the situation. There's always a reason. What can I learn from this? What is the take home on this situation? Number 6, work on your skills. You have 18 minutes a day. I just want to tell you, so many people want to do something, they're just not good at it. You're just not good at it. You don't practice 18 minutes a day. 18 minutes a day just makes you better than people that don't. You must become exceptional. An expert. And you got to master the skill. You got to master it. Master it. Playing golf once a week is not going to master golf. You got to master it. 7, learn from others. You got to learn from others. Ask people, how did you overcome that? How did you deal with that? How did you handle your divorce? How did you handle the loss of your child? How did you handle this? What was the thing? You learn from people. And you work through these things. Hey, elevate your peer group. You got to surround yourself by the right people. Number 9, get a coach. Oh, my goodness. Tell me one championship team that doesn't have a coach. Nate, tell me one. Tell me one Super Bowl team that doesn't have a coach. Now, why don't you have one? You want to win, but you don't want to coach. You want to win, but you don't want to coach. You don't want it. You know what, celebrities? They hire food coaches, fitness coaches, acting coaches, speech coach. Kamala had a coach. I guarantee she had a coach before the debate. Why don't you? Are you not worth a coach? I've got a couple of coaches I'm going to be checking out here in the next year. I got coaches for things I'm getting ready to go talk to about coaches. It's because, why? Because I need them to see something I'm not seeing. I need to see. You know who my top paid coach is? My wife. Now listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right here. I'm not going to make 12 o'clock, I know, but it's going to be close. We started. My wife told me the other day, this is what she told me the other day, and this is crazy. We were walking, and she says, at my age and where I am, she said, I don't want you to say one word. Don't belittle it. Don't say one word when I tell you what my purpose in life is. She said, I'm going to tell you what my purpose in life is. but don't you say one word to make fun of it or belittle it. She said, my purpose in the rest of my life, I'm going to spend to make you successful.
Come on.
She said, that's what I want to do. No wonder you get so much stuff. But you ain't getting no monkey, that's for sure. I ain't buying no monkey. Huh. She says, I'm going to spend the rest of my life. She helps me all the time. She helps me all the time. She's coaching me. She's helping me. We work together. So you got to get a coach. I'm going to read one last thing. The last one, don't give up. Don't let it derail you. Now let me show you this. We are done. 11:57. But I'm going to just give you a tidbit on top. Will you put up for me in the Passion Translation, Luke 19, verse 21. This is the story here. This is about coaching right here. This is the story here about the king leaving and calling the servants together and giving them money, right? And told them to take the money he was leaving. This is the third servant that he called forth. Now listen to what this servant. Now this reminds me of church folk. This reminds people in my life. This is why I backed off so many people. You see, I live in fear of you, talking to the master, the king. Talking to your pastor, talking to your coach. I live in fear of you. For everyone knows you're strict, mean, hard, and impossible to please. Because you got a low standard and I got a high, or however that works. I'm not talking about people. You just want, I want excellence. You push us for high return. Did you see that? See, parents, you are to push your children for high return. My goal here is to push you for high return. And people don't like to be pushed. You push us on high return on all that you own, and you always want to gain. Yeah, I'm always going to win. Don't you just want to play? No, I don't play. If I play to win. I don't want to be on your volleyball team because you just need exercise. You go walk at another time. But if we go get out here and play, we go play to win. Spike, setups, and win. We go play cornhole, we go have a winning team. I'm not wasting time. I'd rather take that time, 18 minutes of playing with you, and spend 18 minutes on me winning.
I know that's right.
Well, don't you? You get to decide all this here is for you. If you want to play 8 hours a day, you get to. You get to. That's not a judgment thing. You live in your trailer. You live in your double wide. You live in your RV trailer. You live in your car. You live in your apartment. You live wherever you want to live. You live in your house. But if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to constantly grow. Diane and I started out in a 1,100 square foot double wide with more holes on a mile road than you can imagine. I don't regret any of that. That was our starter home. But I'm not go in there. And we lived in apartments, but I'm not ending in an apartment. And we live now where we live, but I'm not ending there. Well, you say, well, I don't need all that. I don't care. You don't have to. You live your life, I live mine. Or we live ours and you live yours. All I'm saying is your success is all up to you. How you bounce back from the inevitable adversities and the boomerangs that's going to come into your life, they're going to come. And how Cindy had breast cancer. How she handled that and became cancer-free. And then you would think breast cancer is enough. And then Larry passes. And then her daughter is diagnosed with an illness. But you know what? As bad as that seems, it's minor compared to what other people. I have an aunt who her husband died of cancer. Her daughter died at 20-something with brain cancer. And today she's living, and her son Greg now is moved in, and she's taking care of her son who has cancer. She's lost both of her children and her husband by cancer. And she had cancer and won cancer. Quit talking about your problems and start talking about how you're going to win and overcome and bounce back and have the resoluteness and the resilience and these things, the perseverance to win, and not about you being a victim. You're not a victim. You're not a victim because it is appointed unto you to die. You're going to die. Your dad's going to die, your mom's going to die, your sister's going to die, your children's going to die, your dog's going to die, your cat's going to die, your bird's going to die, your fish is going to die, everything. Your trees are going to die, your grass is going to die. Death is a part of life. Quit fighting death and win. Not saying you have to smile all the time, but you can't become a prisoner of fear and death, and you must say, if everybody around you dies, I'm still going to go after my purpose. What can stop you? Stand with me. I just want to pray over you. You can